Hey everybody, I'm going to invite you back to Long Island, 1969. Yeah, I was about 8 years old or so, Halloween. Get off the school bus, run back to the house. I've got about 2 hour window before darkness comes that I can do my trick-or-treating. This is the day I look forward to every year. So I put on my costume. If you remember, it was the little onesie with a little plastic mask, that you wear, right? Spider-Man. It was the bomb. So these little plastic masks, they had like just a little hole in the mouth. You can kind of like put your little tongue through, just enough to say like, right? That's all you can hear. And the eye holes were like little pinholes. You can kind of see in front of you, no peripheral vision, right? You couldn't see anything, but those were the costumes back in the day. And I grabbed my shopping bag. It was a Macy's bag with big paper bag with the plastic handles. And that was intentional because that had a giant opening, right? No obstruction to the flow of candy that's going into this bag. And I mean like the big full-size candy bars and like the candy necklaces and those little button candy, the ones that like you couldn't eat without getting a little bit of paper with it, right? So I sit there and I've got my route and I head out there by myself. And yes, I was by myself. This is the 1960s. We didn't worry about stuff like that, right? We were fearless back then. I mean, we had lawn darts. We didn't care, right? So I go out there and I am hitting the bounty. Like I am filling up this shopping bag with candy. I make my rounds and I'm in the home stretch and I can see through the little pinholes of my mask, my house at the end of the block. And I'm making my way down there and all of a sudden I see my candy disappearing in front of me in the hands of the neighborhood bullies on their bicycle. And I'm not embarrassed to admit that Spider-Man cried that moment. I'm left holding the two plastic handles as they rip the bag out of my hand. So I walk to my house, babbling incoherently. She calls the police. God's honest truth. She calls the police come over to the house, and I give them the description of the bully who stole my candy. Now, I have 4 siblings who were also out trick-or-treating, and they also had giant bags of candy. Well, they came into the room where I was, and they dumped all their candy out on the floor and gave me none of it. But what they did do is they'd go back out on the street, did a little auxiliary trick-or-treating. They came back a few minutes later, and they pulled their supplemental candy, and they gave it to me. So I did have my candy. But then a few minutes later, there's a knock on the door. And it's the police. And they're there with this bully. I'm standing 3 feet from him as they ask me to identify who stole my candy. My knees start to shake. A little pee probably leaked out. But then I started thinking, what would Spider-Man do? Right? So I straightened my spine. I looked him right in the eye, and I'm like, that's the guy who stole my candy. And the police took him, and as they disappeared down the front steps, the front door closed, and I never saw that creep again. Thank you.